Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmadu wa nasalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome to this dars of hadith. Check yourself, number 9. This is a series on the signs of Qiyamah that affects individuals, affects society, that we all need to be concerned with. So the first hadith for today is عن أبي ثعلبة الخشني وأبي عبيدة بن جراح ومعاذ بن جبل رضي الله عنهم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله بدأ هذا الأمر نبوة ورحمة وكائنا خلافة ورحمة وكائنا ملكا عضوضا وكائنا عطوة وجبرية وفسادا في الأمة يستحلون الفروج والخمور والحرير وينصرون على ذلك ويرزقون أبدا حتى يلقوا الله عز وجل. So this hadith is titled by the Shaykh as the era of despotism and dictatorship. And in this, the hadith narrated by several Sahaba radiallahu anhu, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started this matter, meaning the matter of deen, with nabuwat, prophethood, and rahmah, mercy. Then came the era of khilafat, caliphate, and rahmah. The era was meaning the power structure, the structure that was there, the condition of the ummah was one of khilafat and rahmah. Then came the era after of cutting or biting kingdom, meaning oppressive kingdom. Then comes the era of despotism and dictatorship. And this despotism, despotism and dictatorship will be so much that it will cause the general corruption of society. And these people will encourage, because of and it is something that is observed throughout the ages, that the authoritarian governments in Muslim countries, the extremely authoritarian, like dictators, they are encouraging of, as the hadith says, will encourage zina, alcohol, silk, and they'll make all these things halal. They'll pass laws and so forth to make these halal. And despite them doing all of these things, they will still be helped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they'll be given the rizq by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until they meet Allah. They'll die in a condition where they will be receiving help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will be provided rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The following hadiths, when you read them, will make more sense. There's a few hadiths coming up. So why would such a person be appointed over the Muslims, be allowed to rule over the Muslims, who is given help and provided for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah's keeping that person in place, and people can't throw that person, they can't overthrow that person. They're stuck like there. And there's a reason why they're stuck there. They're provided for, they're getting the rizq, and they're getting help from Allah, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is keeping them in that position. And this is as a punishment for the people, as a hadith will come later on, inshallah. We'll clarify that. Hadith number 34. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يأتي على الناس زمان لا يبالي المرء ما أخذ منه من الحلال أم الحرام. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه, he said that a time will come when the people will not care whether, based on their own thinking and their own wishes, they will take things and do things, and they will not care whether it's halal or haram. They will not look at things how Muslims did in the past. The first thing to check, is this thing permissible or impermissible? Is this business deal permissible or impermissible? Is it halal or is it haram? That's the first thing to check. If it's haram, all right, there's not even an option to discuss after that. If there's no way for this to be halal, then we walk away from that. But a time will come when people will not differentiate. They will not care if something is halal or haram. They will look at their own desires or greed or making a profit or some worldly benefit. Hadith number 35. He's saying the flood of interest or usury. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يأتينا على الناس زمان لا يبقى أحد إلا آكل الربا فإن لم يأكل أصابه بخاري ويروى عن من غباره. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that certainly such a time will come on the people that people will not be saved from interest, from riba, from usury. Even if they are not engaged in usury, in interest, directly, even if they don't, still the smoke or the dust, meaning the effects of it, will reach this person. So Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Ludhianwi Rahmatullah mentioned, just in brackets, that he maybe not be a criminal of direct interest. He may not be engaged in direct interest-bearing transactions. But his wealth will not be clean. The effects of interest will still be there in his wealth. And because of that, he will be deprived of barakah. The effects, what does it mean the effects of interest will be there? Meaning that his wealth will be devoid of barakah. There will be no blessings on the money that he earns and he feeds his family and his household. There will be no barakah. There's money, the wealth that comes into the house will not be blessed. In our time, it really isn't at the time. Even if we make it all-out effort to free ourselves from interest, but our money is sitting in our case in Australia, ANZ and Commonwealth Bank and NAB and so forth. So it's sitting in a bank account. It's part of the international interest-based banking system, and our money is being used in. Our money is being used. Our savings, if they're in the bank, they're not sitting in a shoebox with our name on it. They're getting used. It's being used for being lent out to people. That's how the whole bank system works with riba. So we're part of that system, even though directly we might not be taking riba from it, but our wealth is affected and is involved in the riba system. Hadith number 36. عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إنه تصيب أمتي في آخر الزمان من سلطانهم شدائد لا ينجو منه إلا رجل عرف دين الله فجاهد عليه بلسانه ويده وقلبه فذلك الذي سبقت له السوابق ورجل عرف دين الله فصدق به ورجل عرف دين الله فسكت عليه فإن رأى من يعمل خيرا أحب إليه وإن رأى من يعمل باطل أبغضه عليه فذلك ينجو على أبطانه كله. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that in the end of times, my ummah, they will be tested with oppressive leaders, and they'll be afflicted with hardship from their leaders. Their leaders will do a lot of oppression on them, and only three types of people will be saved from them. The first type of person is the one who recognizes deen, and he firstly recognizes deen, then with his heart and his tongue and his hand, meaning all three, he does jihad, he opposes this type of ruler or leader. And the second and this person is that'll be the most ahead in that time. Because he makes all that effort, he uses all his resources, his tongue, his heart, and his physical body, he will sacrifice, that he will make all that effort to oppose the thing. The second type of person is the one who recognizes deen, and then he will speak up and he will affirm the truth. And he will make open announcement, he will talk in defense of the truth. And the third person is the one, he will recognize the truth, he will recognize the deen, he will recognize the right thing, but he will remain silent. And when he sees somebody doing the good thing, he will love them. And when he says somebody doing the batil, the wrong thing, he will hate them, or he will hate that, he will have hate for that person because he does the wrong thing. This person, because of his base of his muhabbat, because he loves for Allah and he hates for Allah, then he will also find salvation, he will also be saved as well. And the next narration, the number 37, عن حذيفة اليمان رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال والذي نفسي بيده لا تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر أو ليوشكن الله أن يبعث عليكم عذاب منه فتدعونه فلا يستجيب لكم. Huzaifa radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that I swear in that being in whose hand is my soul, that or my life, that order the good, order what the good things in Islam, and forbid the evil, forbid the wrong things, prevent people from doing the wrong things, because then such a time, such a punishment will descend upon you, that you'll make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but your du'as will not be accepted. So the person will be in difficulty. He deserves that, make dua in his du'as, but because he's not ordering the good and forbidding the evil, he's not doing anything about the society and the things that are happening. He's not reminding the people of the good things. He's not preventing them from the wrong things. This person, his du'as will not. If we don't engage ourselves in reminding others, we don't engage ourselves in da'wah, then our du'as are not accepted. Hadith number 38. It's not good enough that you pray yourself. It's not good enough that I'm just a Muslim and I do pray my own ibadah. That's not sufficient to get your du'as accepted, as based on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the next hadith, the last hadith for today, inshallah, that an al-Hasan rahimahullah qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam la tazalu hadhihi al-ummati tahta yadi Allah wa fi kaffi ma lam tumali qurra'aha umara'aha wa lam yuzakki salihu wa fujjaraha wa ma lam yumanni khiyarum shiraraha فإذا فعلوا ذلك رفع الله عنهم يده ثم سلط عليهم جبابرتهم فساموهم سوء العذاب وضرهم بالفاقة والفقر وملأ قلوب رعبا. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is a hadith narrated by Hasan radiallahu anhu, Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, who said that he was a tabi'i and he heard it from Sahaba radiallahu anhu, this hadith, and he narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hasan al-Basri rahmatullah, is the most, one of the best of the tabi'in. So Hasan Basri rahmatullah alayhi, he said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is ummah will be under the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and meaning under the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and will be under his protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as long as its qaris, meaning that it's ulama and its alims and qaris, they don't become yes men, I'm putting my own words, become yes men for the rulers. That they just go to the rulers and just salute and just, they rubber stamp the decisions of the rulers. That becomes their thing. They don't look at the rulers doing right or wrong. They don't remind them of right. They're just there to support and vocalize their support for the ruler because he's the ruler. And they don't look at whether he's on haqq, he's right or wrong. They're there as they suck up to the rulers and they just do whatever the ruler says. The first thing is the ummah to be good as long as these type of things don't happen in the ummah. The second is that the pious people, those who are practicing deen, they don't purify the sinners. They don't make excuses for the sinners' sins. If they do wrong, they pull them up. They say, you're doing wrong, and they remind them. And if they do wrong publicly, they publicly expose them. And they criticize, because if sins are done publicly, they should be exposed publicly because they're corrupting society. If a wrong is done publicly, which is it's not even a ghibat. Our teachers taught us somebody does sin publicly, even if you talk about it, someone is purposely doing sins publicly. If other people talk about it, it's not even ghibat because they're purposely doing it publicly. If a person, there's no point in talking about it. If you stand up, then publicly has to be reprimanded, criticized. And if someone does a sin privately, then I have to look at the situation. Privately, a person can be advised. So these people, but what will happen is when the pious people, the Prophet ﷺ said, as long as these alims and qaris, they don't become yes men for the rulers, and as long as this ummah, the pious people don't purify or absolve and free the sinners, let them go and don't make like today is happening. And when this ummah, the good people of this ummah, because of their own personal benefit in the social and socio-economic ladder to go up to progress in the world, they give encouragement to the sinful and the wicked and evil people by giving support, moral support. So people are wicked and sinful and so forth. They cheer them on. They cheer them on. Keep up the good work. But the only reason they're doing it because they want to climb up the socio-economic ladder. So for their own progress, taraqi, acceptance in society, they make sure the evil people, they also give them a pat on the back as well. Instead of looking at the principle of the thing that you are actually encouraging, supporting someone that actually is wrong in society. The Prophet ﷺ warned that this is a third type of thing will happen. When the ummah becomes like these three things. So this ummah will be under the protection of Allah along with these three things. When these three things will happen, Allah will lift His hand from this ummah. Then tyrannical people, harsh people, and rebellious people, disobedient will be put on top of them, will be in charge of them. Then so evil and wicked people put in charge of them. And they will give them such a punishment, they will make them taste such a punishment that they will live in a condition of poverty and hunger and starvation and their hearts will be filled with the awe for the enemy. They'll be so scared of the foreigner. They'll be so scared of foreign powers. They'll be so scared of outside, the enemies and so forth. Like in their own country, they'll be fearful of a foreign power. They'll be fearful of outside. So what's the three reasons why that happened? Is when the rulers become yes men, they just cheer on the leaders even in their wrong. When the sinful, the practicing Muslims, they will purify the sinners' sins. They will sanitize their sins. And when the good people, for their own progress and their own climbing the social ladder and economic ladder, for their own personal benefit, they will give hope to the wicked people and cheer on and pat on the back for the sinful people, encourage them, and not look at the fact that I'm encouraging someone who's wicked and sinful, but doesn't look at the deeds in the scale of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as good or bad. He doesn't weigh the thing, this person is good or bad. And He will cheer them on and encourage them. When we become like that, then the three punishments are there. That harsh, zalim, oppressive people will be put on charge, and you can't get rid of them until you change this condition. The three things, you have to stop doing these three things as an ummah. If you don't do this, these people will be there. Like I mentioned before, that these people Allah will provide for, and they'll be helped and supported from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There will be, Allah will place this on top of us. As long as we don't change the condition, this is not going to change. Right? And they will be given punishment through these people, such a harsh punishment that they'll make us, that the Muslims will taste poverty and salvation. Is a punishment for being like that, the previous three things I mentioned. And that fear will be put in the enemy's hearts. Fear of the enemy will be put into the hearts. That they'll always be trembling in fear. They'll be cowards always, and they will not be. And we've seen this again and again, how Muslim countries, generally how they behave when a foreign power or supposed quote-unquote superpower supposedly comes knocking, and how quickly they sell out Muslims, and how quickly they sell out their own wealth, their national wealth, how quickly they sell out their own autonomy, their own sovereignty, and how they just, because out of fear, because they're so scared of losing anything that they hand over everything, and their heart is always trembling with fear. They might show bravery for their own. I mean, look at most of the Muslim countries. They have these massive armies of 500,000 to 1 million on average, like most Muslim countries. They're not there. They haven't defended any border. That's there for the Muslims in the country themselves. That's for their own people. And they do zulm, and they suck out. It says here that the faqr and faqa, that they will be experiencing poverty and starvation in their country. Well, when 80 to 90% the zalims that are ruling the country, they take and use it on military and budgets and so forth, what do you expect the average person to get? Not much. So this is the type of thing. But why is it happening? It's not happening because of geopolitics. It's happening because of our sins and our attitude towards deen and our attitudes towards sins. That in these three people, one thing is consistent. The alims are cheering the leaders who are zalims, and they're doing sins, and they cheer them on regardless. Right? The pious people, they purify the sinners and don't think their sin is a problem. Right? So sin here is not a problem that I have to. This is a problem that we have to get rid of. So they're trying to make everybody, the rulers happy, the sinners happy, and then they're cheering on for their own worldly progress. They're cheering everybody on so they can get ahead in life. And again, the sin of the evil person is not a problem. In all three cases, sin doesn't seem to be a problem for this person. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, all right, you want this world, you want to be accepted by the people, well, here you go, this is the punishment. But this punishment is also Allah's rahmah in a way, because it's to make the life miserable. So there's something wrong. Everything should be working correctly, because all the worldly resources there, numbers there, powers there, everything's there. But it's not. Why is all the material resources there, all the petrol is there, all the mineral wealth is there, but they can't do anything? Why? Because this calamity is coming. Because what? These calamities are coming what? Because of sins. Or even this case, not even treating the sin as a sin and not taking it seriously. They're more worried about offending people than offending Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, coming down to weakness of iman. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them miserable. Poverty, starvation, humiliation, fear. It's not a situation people want to live. So Allah creates a situation, a pressure cooker. They have to do something about it. They have to change themselves. If they don't, it will keep going like this. It will not change. This is the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will not change. Until we change ourselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change our condition. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us an understanding of all these hadiths and tawfiq to practice what we say in here. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.